This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Keller's Garden Center and Landscaping Services, located on 7 Kern Street in Exeter, Pennsylvania, just down the street from Blue Ribbon Dairy. Open through the winter, offering gift cards, poinsettia centerpieces, tropical holiday sleighs, pictures with Santa, and more. And if you're looking for snow removal services, they can take care of that too. Do not break your back this winter. Contact Keller's today and visit their social media pages for more info and hours of operation. My guest today is Adam McKinley, founding member of the band SUZE from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. SUZE has been a band in NEPA for about 15 years now, and while they are not as active as they once were, they get together around the holidays for an annual show. This year, they'll be playing Christmas night at the River Street Jazz Cafe in Plains, Pennsylvania, and paying tribute to the Red Hot Chili Peppers by performing the classic Blood, Sugar, Sex Magic album in its entirety. Proceeds from this show will go to the Carve for Cancer Foundation. We get into that and more on this episode of the Popko Project podcast. Thanks as always for listening. And we're live. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Not too much. I'm doing all right. It's what is it? Tuesday only? It's Tuesday night.
Yeah, almost Christmas.
Yeah, we're 11 days out from Christmas.
Yeah.
I had my son's basketball practice tonight. I'm his coach, and it's a wild ride.
Where does he play at?
He plays in like the Pittston area.
Well, so they started already, huh?
Yeah, he'll be 4 in a couple weeks, so he's like real young. Like he probably too young, but I wanted to introduce him to.
Oh, I hear you, man. My daughter played 2 years ago. So it was 20. Actually, it was right before the pandemic, 2020. But their season didn't start till January, and she's playing again this year. But same thing, they don't start till January. So I was just surprised to hear that they started already. She's doing the Willie Abramski League over at the Kingston Rec.
Okay.
So I don't know what that even means. Like, I don't know if that's different than.
How old is she?
She's 8. She just turned 8 like 2 weeks ago, actually. So
man, you're an old man.
I am an old man.
I didn't realize, I forgot I was going to have some beard competition tonight. I forgot.
Yeah, mine's pretty fresh too. I just got it shaped up on Friday.
Yeah, yours is much nicer than mine. Mine gets like really thin and scraggly. I can't ever get the length that you have because it's all wiry and shit.
Yeah, I started growing mine longer because mine used to be patchy. Like I'd have like little open patches. So I was like, well, I guess I got to grow it in to not look like a patchy idiot, you know?
Well, I'm joined tonight by Adam McKinley, and I'm really excited to talk to you for many reasons. You got a big show coming up at the River Street Jazz Cafe at the end of the month. And dude, like we've both been in like the scene, right?
Sure.
Adam is, are you the founder of the band SUZE?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you're the founder of the band SUZE. Like SUZE has been around for what, 10, 12, 15 years? What is it?
Years.
15 years. Jesus. So, I mean, I started at the Weekender in 2005.
Right.
So like I was in the circuit as the same time you were, and we never really crossed paths. I don't even know how it's possible.
Yeah, I know. I was actually thinking that before we came on, even before we talked, before we started recording. I was like, wow, I said, I've known who this guy is for 15 years, and I don't think we've ever really met in person or had like a conversation at length, unless I'm not remembering correctly.
I think you're accurate. I don't even think we said a word to one another.
Right.
Like if I saw you, you saw me, it was one of those.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Head nods. Like I know you, you know me.
Yeah.
But we don't really know each other, so we're not going to talk. But it's wild. I don't. And what's even funnier is like I have never seen the band SUZE.
Oh, there you go.
I've spent my entire career going out to bars, restaurants, clubs, whatever it may be, checking bands out.
Right.
Whether it's a full band, and you do solo stuff too. I've never seen you play solo either. So weird.
Says more about me or more about you?
What's that?
I said, I don't know if that says more about me as a musician.
No, it has nothing to do with you.
I'm teasing.
I know you are, but it's like not even by accident. I don't even know how it's possible.
Well, you know, it happens, dude. I mean, it's like I said, I'm good friends with a lot of these guys that you know as well, like Dustin and people like that. And I mean, Dustin's bass player Matt, who's the older brother of our guitarist Adam, he plays with us. I haven't seen their band in 5 years, at least. You know, and they're good friends of mine. I don't even think I've really been out for live music other than when I play in at least 4 or 5 years. So, so I get it is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I don't
happen than you think.
I'm just shocked. Like it's really one of those weird things. And I was thinking about that a lot before we got on here, like you said. It's just
right.
Whatever. But SUZE, man, it's been around for 15 years. It's not as active as it once was. I mean, we all, it happens. You get older, you get married, you have kids, you get jobs, and these things happen. But SUZE has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I want to kind of get into the history of SUZE before we get into the current state of SUZE. Right. So how did SUZE happen? What's SUZE all about? What's the genre? What's the deal?
So I'll try to give the abbreviated version as much as I can while still not leaving out much detail. So I started playing guitar when I was like 19 years old. So that's about 16, 17 years ago at this point. And I really just started doing it to have fun. And I was always able to sing. I did chorus in high school. So I was always able to carry a tune, you know, recognize pitch, all that stuff. But I was never thinking of being a musician or a serious musician. I mean, obviously you have dreams of being whatever, but like I didn't think like, oh, okay, I'm going to start here and I'm going to work my way to being a musician. So I started playing the guitar, and it was mostly just to be the guy at the party that could sing a song and play the guitar, because I was able to sing. And my group of friends, we all grew up kind of singing songs together. I come from a big Irish Catholic family, a lot of sing-song stuff going on with that. So long story short, fast forward a few years, I end up at Penn State. And while I'm at Penn State, in the same building as me was John Yankondi, who I don't know, you might even know who he is. He's a local filmmaker.
Yep.
He lived in the same building as I did. And my roommates were also from the area. So they knew him. Ipso facto, I met him. We used to come back from the bar all the time, and I would play the guitar and sing, and we would have sing-alongs, which is exactly why I started playing. So at the end of the year, his family throws a big pig roast for Memorial Day every year. So he basically asked me to play. I had never played a gig before. So I had two buddies that I grew up with that were guitar players. So I asked them to play with me. One of them switched to bass, Brandon Shaffron. So he played bass. Chris Bednar played the guitar, and we did this like trio gig. And I think we played like 10 songs, you know, at this party. Week later, we meet the drummer, and then all of a sudden we have a band. And then our buddy, basically, without telling us, booked us at Sununa's one night in the summer that year. And we had very minimal time to prepare, and we had like no material. So that was kind of how the band started, but it went well. Like that was the thing. It didn't like bomb. And I think if maybe it bombed, I don't know if we would have continued to do it, but it like went so well, and we got such a reception because it was almost like a feeling of like, oh, these guys have a band, like from like people that we went to high school with or even college with, you know? So that's kind of how the band started. And then we started getting better and better, and we were playing covers. And then eventually we were like, hey, why don't we start writing our own songs? So about a year and a half, 2 years in, we started writing our own songs. And that was kind of where it all took off from. And then we spent a long period of time concentrating on only writing songs for a good chunk of those years in the middle there. So, but that was basically the iteration of the band. It was almost like by accident in a way, but it all ended up working out for everybody. So
yeah, it's probably a good thing that you had a gig in front of like a family and friends type thing, and then also at Sununa's, which is a local college bar in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. And again, going back to how I've never seen you, like, I mean, I spent a lot of time in my college years and even after college at Sununa's. But yeah, what I'm saying is like,
yeah,
even if you stunk,
right,
you play songs people know, it's a college bar, people are drinking, they just want to hear stuff that they recognize, and it's a good time. So it's probably a good thing to start there at that level.
Yeah, it's almost like karaoke, like people are just excited that you're doing it.
Yeah.
You know? But then if you actually do it well, they're like, oh shit, like these guys can do it. You know, like if you ever see somebody do karaoke and they can actually sing,
yeah,
you're like, wait a second, is somebody actually singing well? Yeah. You know,
who is this person?
Right. And so I think we had enough like baseline talent that like, I mean, our drummer Kevin was 5 years older than us. So he was already in his late 20s by the time we met him. So he was kind of an experienced musician in terms of just like his skills, you know. So he was a pretty good drummer for our skill level, you know. And then I almost by like necessity got better at playing guitar because I needed to, you know, like it was like, well, what am I going to do? Like just stand up here and suck, or should I work at this? Because previous to that, it was, like I said, it was just kind of a leisure activity, you know, sit in the room, learn a Pink Floyd tune or something, and, you know, whatever, and then go beyond my way. But then it turned into like, oh, we got to learn a bunch of songs if we want to keep playing gigs. And so that's what kind of led the band to progress, was that I was so driven to get better myself that I started pushing the band in that direction as well. Like, hey, like if we work at this a little bit, like we can actually be pretty good. Like this isn't like a fluke. Like I think we have something here. And that's not to say like I was the only one that thought that, but I was always the one kind of pushing it forward. Like, hey, let's keep doing this. Let's keep like trying to progress. Let's get a better practice regimen. Let's get a schedule. You know, I mean, for so many years, we practiced Wednesday, Thursday, almost every week. I mean, for a decade, you know, which is crazy. I mean, obviously there's some off weeks in there, but it was a pretty regimented thing at a certain point. And I think, like I said, it's all because of the energy of that initial show where it was like people enjoyed it, like regardless if it was good or not, you know, people enjoyed it enough to give us the confidence to keep going with it, you know. I think
which is great.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, for anybody doing anything, you know, confidence, you know, really can get you to the next step, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of bands start out for that reason. They start playing covers. They want to play songs that, you know, they can, you know, learn and mimic, and, you know, get, you know, shows booked and make some money.
Yeah.
Why was it important to you guys to start creating your own original material?
I don't know if I could speak for everybody, but I think in my head it validated us in some way. And this isn't the exact right phrase, but it was almost like separating ourselves from the pack. It was, and not to say, like I said, not to say we were the only ones writing music, but there was those two sectors of it where it was like, okay, these are the people that are cover bands, and then there's the original dudes that like we looked up to, like Cabinet and Mike Miz and people like that were writing their own music, that we wanted to get to that point, like where they were singing our songs, you know, because we're playing all these great classic rock tunes and Fish tunes and whatever else we were playing when we first started. And it was just like, the thought in my head was like, well, this would be cool if they were singing our songs like this, you know?
Right.
And I was always interested in creating songs anyway. Like I used to dabble with some stuff with some friends in high school, actually. Like they used to do, like, they had like a hip hop group almost. And they used to just record these raps like on the weekends. Like that's what they would do. They'd hang out and I would come sometimes and sing the hook, you know, and whatever. But that was like my first introduction into almost like creating my own stuff and being like, oh, this is kind of cool to like make up my own stuff. Now I wasn't as educated as a musician as I probably needed to be to get better at that quicker. But it was something that I worked at. Like I really wanted to get good at writing songs. And I think for a while there, I did get pretty good. You know, I don't mean to pat myself in the back. It's just, I felt comfortable doing it at a certain point. I got to the point where I did it so much and so often that I was just like, oh, this is comfortable now. It doesn't feel forced or like something I can't quite attain, but I'm still working at, you know, it kind of became easier for a while, you know, when I was doing it all the time. But like I said, for me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it was just kind of that, like, well, let's take ourselves to a different spot and let's come up with some stuff, you know, like I think we're creative enough people that we can do that. So that was kind of the crux of it all, you know?
Yeah. And I can appreciate, you know, you kind of danced around, you know, you didn't want to shit on cover bands. And I talked to a lot of musicians, like, and they're like, there's nothing wrong with cover bands. There's nothing. I mean, there's guys out there and girls out there who do it extremely well. almost to the point where you can't even tell it's a cover. You think it's actually the artist in the room. But I mean, there's something to say about a band who can also write their own material, because I don't want to say anybody could, copy someone else's stuff, because I couldn't. But like, I mean, you're going to the next step. You're writing your own music. You're writing lyrics. Like, you're composing everything together. It's a lot more difficult to do that when the blueprint isn't already set.
Right.
So, I mean, I know you danced around it a little bit because you didn't want to like shit on cover bands, and you're not by any means. You're not at all. But I hope people appreciate the fact that, people who are trying to write original stuff, it's not, you're not copying something. You're creating it from, the ground up.
Totally. And I mean, even when, I mean, still to this day when we cover stuff, but even when we would cover stuff, like we would come at it. I mean, part of it was lack of knowledge or ability. Part of it was laziness, but we would almost come up with our own version of cover songs. Like not even like, I'm not, because we were trying to be like, oh, well, let's be different and like whatever. Like, I always like to cover stuff that wasn't obvious. So like the stuff that everybody's covering, like I always said, like, if you're going to play Cream, I'm not going to play Sunshine of Your Love. I'm going to play Outside Woman Blues, which is a tune that we used to cover, or even like Tales of Brave Ulysses, like one that you wouldn't expect to hear. But if you like Cream, you're going to recognize and be like, oh shit, they're playing that song, know? And that was where a lot of that originality came from too, was we always used to we would SUZE up the song. Like we would jam on it because we were into jam bands and stuff. We would just play a 3-chord song and just kind of let it go and see what happened and have these long jams. So even when we were covering stuff, we were almost like coming up with our own original ideas to interpret the songs. We were never like a note for note kind of band. And again, a lot of it was laziness. A lot of it was lack of ability or knowledge of music at the time. We all understood music to a basic extent, but none of us were, savants at reading music or music theory or anything like that. Like, we just know it sounded good to us, and we figured the people that like the same things that we do would also think it sounded good, Yeah. And that's kind of what happened. You know what I mean? And but to your point, like, I admire cover bands, because I think, actually what we're doing for this Christmas show is a testament to how difficult it really is to be a really talented cover band that takes the time to dissect the song the way it was written and doesn't just lazy it up and, okay, I'm just going to play the one formation of that C chord. I'm not going to find that voicing or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, those people have a talent all their own to be able to do that, because I'm not built that way. I don't learn stuff note for note. I like to have a little bit of my own feel into it. That's just the kind of way I approach it. But yeah, that's where a lot of that originality came from, was a lot of the cover stuff we were doing back then, and still do to this day.
So if I was to go out and see a SUZE show, SUZE is SUZE, 10, 15 years ago, what could I expect to have heard?
Oh man.
Was there a specific thing you guys kind of like kind of flocked to, or that you kind of specialized in? We bounced, like, our the stuff we covered, we bounced around, like I said, we covered some Cream, we covered Fish, we covered Mo, to the best of our ability at that time. I don't think we were even, now looking back, it was like, we probably shouldn't have been covering that stuff, but who knows? But we would do like stuff like that. We had, I know we used to do like, what's the Zeppelin song? Hey, hey, what can I do? I got a woman, she won't be true. We used to do that one. We used to do like, just like a random hodgepodge. It was kind of like everybody had their own tunes that they wanted to cover. So we were all just like, screw it. Like, we'll just all throw our songs in the ring and we'll learn them. And so it was a lot of that stuff. We used to do some Talking Heads. So it was a lot of like jam band-esque stuff and kind of some classic rock.
Right. And some old classic rock that could be turned into jam band stuff, like some easy 2-3 chord songs, blues tunes by Cream and stuff like that, or just jamming on like Purple Haze, like an easy Hendrix song, like, something that is just mostly chords that you could just get a groove going and somebody could play a solo for 10 minutes when you got fill time and you don't have a lot of material like we used to do. So but yeah, it was a lot of that classic rock, jam band stuff.
Cool.
And it still kind of is, to be honest. We just, we progressed to maybe more difficult songs or whatever you want to say, but it's still kind of the same model,
Right. And 15 years later, the band is not as active as it once was. You play maybe, 1 or 2 shows a year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about that now. That's about what the average has been for the past couple of years.
Now, is that just because, life gets in the way? And
yeah, it's a lot of things, but it's kind of just like that, basically. I mean, we had some members change over the years, and then, it's hard to keep a band like this going when you're changing members because, and it's of no fault of their own, but the new members aren't as invested in the band as you are, especially a band at our level that we don't do it for a living. We're not touring all the time. It's not a lucrative project, but it's still fun. And I still think we made some good music, and we still have the ability to make great music in the future, hopefully. But it's hard to get people to really care about it as much as, like, especially I do, because I'm the only founding member left. Adam, our guitarist, has been with me for 12 years. I mean, he's been there almost the whole life of the band, but he's vested in it. But then everybody else is kind of, they came along the way. So it's partly that. It's hard to rehearse every week too. When you get older, not even if you don't, even if you don't have kids or you don't, whatever, it's just, there's not as much drive to go sit somewhere for 3 hours on a Wednesday night and rehearse, so it's like all those factors plus, life did get in the way, like I got 2 kids now. Adam just had a baby. We were all married at one point. Like I said, members left. We had guys come and go. So it's just, when you keep starting it over, it's really hard to keep doing that. Like to teach the 4th bass player the songs that we wrote 12 years ago instead of just working on new stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got in that rut personally with the band in that way where I was just like, I felt like I was just doing the same thing every 2 years. It was just like, oh, somebody else new's coming in. Now we got to teach him everything. And not everything's on recording. So then you got to like chart everything out and explain it. And it's like, what is this for? Like if it's only going to be a couple times a year or however much we were playing. So it's a lot of that stuff. But I think ultimately there's no reason to ever stop completely. Like there's no reason to ever say like, nope, this is completely dead. It doesn't exist anymore. I got to that point a few times in my own head, but ultimately, like, it can still exist in the way that it does. I mean, we still draw a crowd when we do play the few times we do. We still have music that we've never recorded that we could certainly record and make even an LP, but an EP for sure, So it's, again, it's just a lot of those things, and it's hard to get the engine revved again, to do it. So.
Well, it's got to be cool now too, because the shows that you do have now probably are killer. Maybe some of the best shows you ever have, because
Absolutely.
It's once, twice a year, and people are amped up for it. And like, I'm going to drop what I'm doing. I'm going to go see SUZE this day, this year, because I won't see him for another year again. So there's a special kind of thing for that too.
Totally.
But you also play, I think you still are actively solo.
Mm-hmm.
Did you kind of go towards that avenue because you had more control? You have the drive, you have the energy, you still want to play. Was that easy for you to kind of transition into because it's just you don't have to worry about anybody else, and obviously you probably love playing, right?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it's definitely my favorite thing to do. I mean, that's without a doubt. That's the main reason I do it, because I still love to just play music for people. That's the ultimate thing with all of this, is like that part of it is still there for me, at least. Like I still, if there was 3 people sitting here right now, I would love to play for them, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? But I was playing solo a lot. No, I shouldn't say a lot, but I was playing solo relatively often when the band was in full swing as well, but not as much because I was putting more. I was reserving more time for the band, like keeping open more dates for potential band gigs, So I would sneak the occasional acoustic gig in here and there. But it's an easy transition because it's just a lot easier to manage. I mean, that's what it ultimately comes down to. We already talked about getting older and having things happen throughout life that make you busier. I mean, I went back to school years ago, so I go to school at night, during the fall and the spring. I got 2 kids. I went through a divorce. So that whole thing, now I have a set schedule with them, which makes it harder to do, to organize other schedules along with it. So it's just easier for me to manage that because I make my own schedule. If I don't want to play next weekend, I don't book myself,
Right. You control it.
Yeah. So it's nice in that respect. But like I said, I do it because I still really like playing. And honestly, like part of it too is, I make more money doing it because I don't have to split it with everybody. Sure. And it's easier to get paid a little bit more per person, so to speak, when you play acoustic than it is a band. Because even if you bring a 5-piece band, like if you're asking for $1,000, that's only $200 a guy, but the venue doesn't want to pay you $1,000 unless you're going to bring 300 people out, But if I go play solo and ask for $200 or whatever it is, they're like, oh yeah, sure. You know what I mean? So in that respect too, it's a financial thing. And it's also, I do love to play all the time. And I don't think I'm willing to play 4 nights a week. I don't know if most people are, you know what I mean? Especially like a guitarist that doesn't sing and, has to lug his amp everywhere, or a drummer that has to lug his kit everywhere 4 days a week. So it's easier in that respect because I'm the only person I have to deal with. You know what I mean? So, but I do like it. I enjoy it. It makes me better. So, yeah.
I remember bands were really popular in the, and I'm talking, my time in the club scene, and when I was 21 and able to go see bands, but early 2000s to mid to late 2000s. I think 2008, when the economy kind of took a shit, a lot of bars and things like that kind of went towards DJs and solo musicians.
Absolutely.
Those assholes like DJ Hirsch that are just taking up the spots. And that guy, man, he's the worst. But yeah, so it's funny to see, and I think before the pandemic hit, almost 2 years ago now. Mm-hmm. Which is crazy to even say. Right. I felt like the local scene and there was less venues to play in, but there were more bands, at least I think, playing in places you have places like Carl Hall, the Jazz Cafe, which we'll get to in a minute. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think about I think Sununez had a band a couple times here and there. Scranton, I think, was a little bit ahead of the Wilkes-Barre area in that the V Spot and Stage West and a few other the Keys, Harry's, a lot of places up there to play. Mm-hmm. But I feel like bars were giving bands a chance again, and then and that's just from my perspective.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit and kind of fucked everything up again.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's just a. It's really ebbs and flows, I guess you could say.
It's interesting because and again, it goes back to what I was just saying about solo. It's easier for me. It's easier for the venues too to have solo people. You got one guy to deal with. You pay one guy. He has a couple beers while he's playing or DJing or whatever he does. You're not shelling out 6 meals to a band, and you know what I mean. It's just.
Yeah, you're not playing Rage Against the Machine and people are burning the place to the ground at the end of the night.
Man, I wish we were doing that,
I know. Those are the fun times.
Right. We actually did a Rage tribute for our 5-year anniversary, which is funny. Shit. I think it's actually on archive.org. It was recorded. We listened to it last summer, and we were like, holy shit, this was way fucking better than I remember, But
that's funny.
But yeah, man, that was when we started. It was 2007. That was our first year playing. And everybody used to tell us, they're like, yeah, you missed it, man. 5 years ago, Wednesday night, there'd be 400 people out for a band. And it's like, oh, that's great. We could barely pull 200 on a Friday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was that. It was the economy. And I think, honestly, nowadays, there's just more options for people, for things to do. That doesn't involve going out to a bar seeing a band, getting all sweaty and
these
drinking.
kids can't hang these days. That's what it comes down to.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
They're scared of a DUI.
Listen, I'm with you. Dude, I'm with you.
I'm kidding.
But even the old, even our generation, I won't lie, man. There's a lot of times where I'd rather be sitting and playing, Call of Duty than going out to the bar. And
no offense, but I mean, you're what, mid-30s?
Yeah, 36.
36. Okay, if I had access to an Uber when I was 21, 22,
no, you're right.
I'm kind of thankful that I didn't, because I probably would have gotten different trouble. But I mean, I don't know. We had to worry. We had to rely on one of our friends to kind of hold it back and not get nuts, or go to a bar that was close to home, and because I don't condone drinking and driving. I never have. But I think we probably took more risks when we were younger. And I think kids these days, which is a good thing. I think they're smarter. They're healthier. They're more health conscious, so they're not trying to go to a bar and drink beer and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they don't even smoke cigarettes anymore.
No, but they're doing this.
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah.
We see. I work for Northeast Eagle Distributors, so I sell beer, and we talk about it all the time. It's
bro, you're taking my segues. Stop it.
Well, we'll pretend. Everybody pretend you didn't hear me say that.
Look at this.
All right. We always talk how you got to go back.
Yeah, I forget. I think I went away on vacation to Cape May, and I got a seltzer. Well, I mean, I wanted to try it. The flavor sounded interesting. We'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, thanks for taking that from me. Appreciate it. Whatever. Why don't you just host the interview? Just go ahead. You talk. That's fine, bro.
I'm always saying,
Go ahead.
No, but I was just gonna say, we always talk about how non-alcoholic beer is growing all of a sudden, and it's because kids are just smoking weed, and then they're going to the bar and they're drinking Bud Zero and O'Doul's and Heineken Zero and all that stuff. And
that's the point.
That's part of it too. I think it's all these things happening at once. That's really the crux of it. You know what I mean? The part of it that all brings it all together.
Yeah, and I wonder too, because even the generation before us, they're oh, you guys missed out. We had Jimmy's and the Staircase before it was the Staircase in Pittston. They would the Station and all these places that were you could literally go to a venue every night of the week and find a local band playing, or even a cover band playing. And so there was that generation, and then every generation it seems to kind of dwindle. Yeah. And I don't know what's next.
I don't know.
I think if you're at a bar or restaurant, you have to have something for people to do. And that's, I'm 39. I'm not really going out to the bar. I've got a kid myself. I'm married. So I'm not doing that except for special occasions, maybe something that's coming up soon. We'll talk about that at the Jazz Cafe. But I feel no one wants to sit at a bar and stare at the wall. You have to have shuffleboard, or you have to have arcade games or something for people to do, because they don't want to just sit around and stare at one another. But that's what we did. If we weren't seeing bands play, we were.
That's it.
Yeah, man.
That's what we grew up doing. Was
ripping cigarettes, shooting darts, drinking beers. Life was good.
It's a shame, man. It's I actually prefer, even now, I prefer going out during the week. I miss those Wednesday nights where you just go shoot pool and smoke cigarettes all night, and you know what I mean, like a Wednesday, a random Wednesday night. But yeah, man, it's a shame that the bands it seems like there's less bands that I don't know, maybe if I'm not as tapped into the scene as I used to be, but it seems like there's just a lot less bands in general. I feel when we were starting, there were so many bands, all the old school ones, the Crushes and the Flaxy Morgans and the 40 Pound Heads, all those ones that existed forever, George Wesley and whoever else. And then there were all the people in our generation, the Woody Brown's Projects and Dustin and, Cabinet and Miz and all those guys, Misty Mountain, all those bands that we used to hang around and go see. There were so many bands, and now I feel I don't hear about as many. And again, it could be that I'm an old man and I'm not as tapped into it as I used to be. But I think
it's because there's less places for people to play, for one. And I think the bands that are like around are better. This is not a knock on anyone who's, was in a band 15 years ago, but they're tighter, so to speak. They're musically better.
Sure.
And that might come from like, what they record with is better. They have easier access to it. A lot of factors. But I mean, it's just funny how things change over years. And it's like, it sucks. I mean, like we're roughly the same age. I'm a little older than you, obviously, but like, we kind of run in the same circle, a lot of same friends, and we had a great time growing up and being in the bars and going to Sanunis's and Beer Boys and all those places downtown Wilkes-Barre. Like it was I feel bad almost for kids now because maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't want to do that. But I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it was just so fun to like go, like you'd look in the Weekender and it would be like,
R.I.P.
This band's here, this band's here, this band's here, this band's here. I mean, you could have bounced around to 8 spots and seen awesome bands at every spot. It would be like, oh, Woody Brown's project's playing at Bones, or like Mrs. Jazz Cafe, or Underground Saints are playing, down in Pittston, and we're at Sanuna's, and this band's down wherever, Bart Nerby's, and it's like you literally could have gone to like 8, 9 places and seen awesome bands. I could have personally gone to 8, 9 places and seen a band that involved someone that I'm friends with in every single band. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's just how it was. And now it's like a lot more people come together and play together. There's a lot more crossover with members and stuff like that. Like I said, like we technically share a bassist with Dustin. Matt's been Dustin's bassist for the duration of his band being around. And Adam, his younger brother, has been in my band for 12 years. And Matt was in our band for a year and then left. And now he's back. And, it's like, it's kind of just that never ending just weave of people. But it's cool, I mean, it's what makes it fun, but it's just a feeling that there isn't more of that still. I think there is still, but it seemed like it was a lot more back then.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, there's just more people moving. There's more people supporting the local venues and, going out and, drinking beer. And that's where the venues make money. I mean, from selling beer, like that's how they make their money. They're not making money from a cover charge that's, probably going to the band. Mm-hmm. They're making money on the $4 or $5 beer you're drinking and the mixers you're drinking and the food that they're selling and shit like that. Yeah, the shots for sure. But yeah, it's just a different time. It's I don't know that it'll ever go back to that. I don't think it ever will. No,
I mean, it doesn't seem like it, I just...
Maybe I'll see you in the metaverse. Right. We'll be going to live shows in the metaverse.
Yeah, well, it's just going to be live shows, or just going to be the band's going to play remotely and be on a live stream for...
Yeah, you'll be somewhere. Your bass player will be somewhere. I'll be on my couch with no pants on.
Real instruments. We'll just be miming it.
Yeah, I'll be on my couch with no pants on. It'd be fucking great.
Right.
Great.
I mean, I've always wanted to play a show with no pants on. So I mean,
you could.
This age of the internet,
that might make it go viral, bro.
That's right. Well, I had this.
Get on TikTok.
Vinny from the V Spot always busts me because I was during the pandemic last summer. I was recording these videos, like just me playing cover tunes and posting them. But I realized the one time I posted one, I didn't have a shirt on. Now you couldn't even keep my full upper body. You could just tell that I didn't have a shirt on, and it got the most views of any of the videos I had posted up to that point. So from now on, every time I post a video, I have no shirt on. And Vinny's always busting me. He's going, he's always saying like, how Vinny is, and he's like, he's busting me about not having a shirt on. I'm like, hey man, it's getting me the views. Whatever brings the eyeballs to the screen.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do.
This is the second podcast in a row that Vinny's been brought up. And I mean, he's a huge supporter of local music, and I love Vinny.
It doesn't surprise me.
No, I mean, he and I did a podcast. We were in a tub, not together. Like he was in his tub at his house. I was in my tub at my house.
That's great. That sounds exactly like Vinny.
I think we need to do that. Vinny, you're listening to this. We need to do it again.
Because that on a different plot.
Yeah. We need to do another hot tub.
We wouldn't have got anything done though if he was he was on here.
Dude, we had a good time, but enough of the naysaying and the downers and all that kind of stuff. Like, you got a big show coming up, Christmas night, I should say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
River Street Jazz Cafe. Like, most venues veer away from a holiday event. I mean, because people are home with their families. I mean, I get that, you're probably, if you're spending all day with your family, you want to get the fuck out and maybe not kill each other, but
now you're starting to get it.
Yeah, December 25th, River Street Jazz Cafe in Plains, Pennsylvania. So it's SUZE and Astrology Days, and you're presenting like a tribute to the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, we're covering Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Yeah, talk about that, because I want to fuck it up.
No, you're good. It's so Astrology Days is Ben Travers and Michael Shinko's. That's their promotion. So they're the promoters. That's why we put it up there with our name as presenting the show. This is the 12th year in a row. We're doing SUZE Christmas 12. So we've been doing this every year for 12 years. Last year, obviously, we couldn't do it in person. So what we did was we recorded it was a pre-recorded live stream. So we edited it so it looked like we were playing live, but we recorded it a few weeks before we, released it or whatever. But yeah, going back to what you said, this night started for that reason, because there was nowhere to go on Christmas Day after everybody be done with their stuff, and this is when Tom Moran was working at the Jazz Cafe, and we were still trying to like crack in there, because that was when we first started writing songs right around that time. And he asked us, he was like, well, when do you guys play Christmas Day? And we were like, all right, whatever. We were 24 years old at the time. We didn't care. So we played, and it was awesome. And then we did it the next year, and it was awesome. And then it just became a tradition. Then we kept booking it. So yeah, this is the 12th one. And this year we decided to. So the last few years it's been in association with Carve for Cancer, which is the cancer association that we're involved with. We've played their events and all that stuff. We were good friends with Brent, their founder, and everything. So we like to donate some money, from what we make plus what people want to donate themselves. Last year when we did the live stream, we raised $1,300 in 24 hours. Wow. So hoping to beat that. There's a link in the, we could talk about that later, but anyway, we decided to cover this year Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which is the critically acclaimed Red Hot Chili Peppers album. I think it's their second album. I don't even think it's their first, but it came out in 1991. So 30-year anniversary of it.
Name some songs from the album that people might know.
Give It Away, Under the Bridge, Suck My Kiss, Naked in the Rain.
All the hits.
Yeah, all the great, the ones that made them who they are. But I've been wanting to do a Chili Peppers tribute of some kind for about 10 years now. I've been talking about it. So I finally convinced some people to go along with me. And I think the rest of the band hates me for it because they had to learn all the music. I'm just the one jumping around and screaming into the microphone. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's starting to sound really good. We've been rehearsing for about almost 2 months now. We started rehearsing about middle of October, and it's getting pretty tight. So we're looking forward to it.
Now, I assume that that band is an influence of yours to an extent.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of my favorite bands.
What's it like trying to do a tribute to one of your idols? I mean, you're doing it in a bar or whatever. Like, no one's gonna care really, like, if you nail every note. But I mean, obviously, it's like we're doing this album front to back. As a musician, you probably want to nail every single second of it, right?
Absolutely.
What's that like trying to, and knowing that you're putting the show on and wanting to kind of pay tribute to that artist?
It's cool, man. It always ends up being, so this is like the third or fourth time we've done like some kind of tribute. Like 2 years ago, we did a Beatles tribute. So we did like one set of the Beatles. We had like 23 songs. year before that, we did a Mo tribute. I mentioned earlier, we did a Rage Against the Machine tribute, little mini set like 10 years ago on our 5th anniversary. But it always ends up being every time, you know, you always, these artists that we've all grown to love and know for however long they've been around, like the Chili Peppers and the Beatles and so on, you know how awesome they are. But then when you start learning their music, you're like, oh, this is why they're awesome. It's not because like they were granted the talent, you know, they were struck with the talent wand on their head. And no, there's real genius to the way this music is written, and the Chili Peppers are no exception to that. Like you dive into it, like even just like I'm doing the Kiedis part, and I'm just like, man, I didn't expect it to be this difficult to do. Like, yeah, you could sing a song, but then when you get like 7 songs into the album and you haven't even gotten to Get Away yet or Give It Away, and you're like, oh boy, like this is daunting. Like it's physically hard. And I know it's physically hard for Matt, the Dane, we call him, playing bass, you know, trying to do Flea. I know it's physically hard for Adam trying to do for Shanty. The one catalyst was, so Josh Karras has been playing with us the past couple of years. He's going to play drums for the set instead of Jay Stefanski, who is our regular drummer. And the reason we came to that decision was Josh already knew the album. I guess he learned on it years ago. And he already pretty much knew the album top to bottom. So we had him play drums. So that's been the one thing that I think has kept our sanity with it, where he was so familiar with the songs and how the rhythms go and everything that it made it easier for those guys to kind of fall in with him. And then I just have to worry about the vocal part. But it's always like you always end up appreciating the artist or the band more because you dive into it and you really see, like you almost get a glimpse into what their thought process was and why they were thinking this, or why did he use this guitar voicing, or why did he use this tone, or whatever the case may be. Why did he use this vibrato in his voice? Like, how did he get so low? How did he get so high? How did he rap so fast, or whatever the case may be? You know what I mean? So it's been challenging, but it's been fun to learn. And I've been listening to the record almost every day for a good, the better part of two months. So, and it hasn't gotten old yet. Like I listen to it all the time, and I'm just like, I'm still like getting the pump up from it, you know? So I can't wait to perform it. It's going to be killer.
You better get that pump. You got to take your shirt off for that show. I mean, it wouldn't be a Red Hot Chili Peppers show without your shirt off.
Well, that was the one thing I was saying. I was like, man, am I going to really perform my shirt off? I'm like, I'm going to have to start running more. So I've been jogging in the morning just to keep my physique in line. Yeah. I'll tell you what, man, I watched a couple videos of him, especially like later on. That dude is jacked.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just cut. Like, he's got some size to him too. Like, you look at him, you're like, shit, that guy's he's pretty big. Like, I don't know how tall he is or anything. He's probably like 5'6", but he looks big when you see him. You know what I mean? I was like, no, maybe I'll just wear a tight shirt.
Drugs, sex, cigarettes, booze. Like, man, that's your.
The way he sings, man, he's got to burn 1,000 calories per song.
And those are your meals. So yeah, you throw the performances in there, or a simple jog in the park. Yeah, you're going to be ripped.
I do 2 takes on Give It Away, and my abs feel like I've been working out for 45 minutes trying to sing. Oh my God. It's crazy.
Well, I like that, you know, you're associated with the Car for Cancer. You know, we lost Brent. Was it in summer of 2017, right?
Yeah, it'll be 5 years this year.
Yeah. And I had the pleasure of meeting Brent several times. He's good friends with, like, you know, Matt Valesky and Marty Snyder and CJ and all those kids. And he was at Beer Fest one year, I think in 2000. Oh man, it may have 15 or 16. I forget what year it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that kid always brightened up the room when he was in it. And I'm not saying that because he's unfortunately no longer here. That's just the honest truth. I mean,
it is.
He was such a bright light. And and everyone will say the same thing. And I remember I was actually in Maryland when he had passed, or when I heard that he had passed, and I was wearing one of the bands for Brent on my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I didn't know him that well at all, but something about hearing that he had passed, like, just it took me back a minute, and I don't know why. And I guess that just speaks to who he was as a person and what he contributed to our area and just the people around him. He's just a good kid and such a nice, genuine kid. And we're unfortunate to be without him right now. And yeah, I didn't know. So I can't imagine, like, his real friends and real family and how they must feel and the loss they experienced, because, like I said, I didn't know him that well, and I was kind of floored for a moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I honestly didn't know him that well either. But that's how much of an impact he had. I mean, I've done every single one of the benefits. I'm the only person that's played all of them. My best friend, Josh Frank, is the president of Car for Cancer now. And this was all, we didn't know him that well. Like, I grew up, like Josh had just mentioned, I grew up with Josh. I've known him for 20 some years. He only met Brent because when Brent moved to Philly, Brent texted him and said, "Hey man, we know some of the same people. We should probably hang out." And they did. And now Josh is the president of Car for Cancer.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing with me. Like, we knew each other. We had mutual friends. So it's like you can probably feel with me, and I feel it with you. Like, even though we don't really know each other that well, like, it kind of feels like we know each other. You know what I mean? We're the same kind of person. We hang out with the same kind of people. So, like, through that, you get that general connection with somebody where you're like, yeah, this is my kind of dude. Like, he knows all the same people I know, and blah blah blah. So it was kind of the same thing with Brent. So the one year we went to see Mo at the electric factory down in Philly, and this was when Brent was sick, and I couldn't leave when all my other buddies were leaving for the show. So Brandon Chaffron, who was the original bassist in our band, he was good friends with Brent as well. And he actually was better friends with him at the time than I was. And he said, "Hey, Brent's driving down later. You could ride with him." I was like, "Yeah, cool, man. Like, I know Brent. Like, I know him a little bit, like, whatever." So, like, at this point, like, we had never spent any, like, extensive time with each other. And that 2.5 hour ride from here to Philly was everything. Like, it was the whole thing. I mean, it was 20 years of friendship wrapped up in a car ride. And I still take that with me to this day, because it was just crazy. Like, it was just like he told me about his diagnosis, and he went into a lot of personal stuff that, like, you don't really necessarily have to tell someone that you don't know, or might even be willing to tell someone you don't really know that well. But he was, again, it was that valley kind of connection where it was like, yeah, I know this guy. Like, I know this same person just in someone else's body. I've known this same guy for 20 years, so I can tell this guy anything. And that's what it was. And he told me a lot of stuff, and we shared a lot of things, and we became really close after that. And that was, I think, the second time he was sick. No, I'm sorry. That was the first time he was sick, because then he started Car for Cancer when he got better. And he asked us to play the original benefit he had. It wasn't called Car for Cancer, but it was the same foundation. He had a benefit at Rodano's and asked us to play it. So we did. And then once he started the ski event, I have played it. I played every year with either SUZE or myself solo a couple times, or with, like, a group of guys. I played with like a hodgepodge of people a couple years ago. But, like, to your point, like, that was the impact that he made on me. I mean, I have a tattoo. I don't know if you can see it. I got that tattoo for him. And, I knew the guy a year and a half, 2 years, but it felt like I knew him forever. And I've since become close with his parents. I mean, his parents came out to see me play at River Grill on the 1 year anniversary that he died. They came to see me specifically. Like, they didn't just, like, show up at River Grill and I was playing. They came out to see me on the day that their son died. And that, to me, was just everything. And it was like, when you see those people and the kind of people that they are, you realize why he was so special. And I mean, it's a special family, really. And they're some of the most resilient people on the planet. He was one of the toughest, if not the toughest person I've ever met, because he beat cancer twice. I don't know anybody else that's done that,
Yeah.
He's just a special guy, and it's just fun to carry his legacy on, and it's an honor, to try to continue to build continue to grow what he built,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fortunate. I remember his smile at the beer fest in Atlantic City, and his smile at Alan Mikowski's lake party.
Yeah,
those are the two memories I have of him, and he's just such a good kid. And yeah, it's unfortunate that we're here without him, but it's really great that there's people like you and the Car for Cancer Foundation that continues to live on in his name and provide money and things like that for research. And so Brent's this is going to sound corny, but this bud's for you, Adam. Cheers to you, and cheers to Brent, and cheers to SUZE and all that kind of good stuff.
Absolutely. We like to call him Uncle Brent.
Uncle Brent.
So cheers to Uncle Brent.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to add real quick, the coolest, a cancer story is not cool, but the cool part of his story is he was only given, I don't want to misspeak, I want to say it was like 8 months to live when he was first diagnosed. His form of cancer was like super, super rare. It was some really rare form of lymphoma that like only a few people on the planet had ever had. He lived for 8 years.
Wow.
And just from him living for 8 years, like I always think about this. This is to me the most profound part of his whole story, is that he's saved God knows how many lives because they were able to research his cancer while he was still alive and figure it out. And now they're treating it better. So like this guy stayed alive for 8 years and probably saved, in turn, eventually, probably thousands, millions of lives at some point, And it's just like that part of it is so, I think that part of it is so awesome, that like that came of it. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Turns into that,
it's I'm a big everything happens for a reason kind of guy. And as shitty as it is, and there's a million things that happen to people that are terrible. And you can try and find reasons why it's, why it happened for a reason.
Right.
And, it's terrible that he's not here. But to what you said, if he was able to stick around for 8 years and have those studies being done and the research being done, and, that's pretty wild that he could do that. And
it's unbelievable. That's awesome. That's the greatest part of it. So,
yeah. But yeah, Brent, we miss you. Like I said, I didn't know him that well, but he was it rocked me. I mean, it was weird. Yeah, it was. Absolutely. I felt guilty, feeling bad, because I was like, I don't even know this kid. And I said to my wife, like, I was literally, I think I got the band at River Grill because I think they did a mustache bash.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Maybe I did see you then.
Yeah, you probably did.
Or I left early. I don't know.
Hirsch was probably talking your ear off.
Yeah, or
the guy doesn't shut up.
God damn, that guy's the worst. But so yeah, I just remember. And then but yeah, so thank you for doing what you do and contributing to that foundation, and hey, we're having a good time on December 25th.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned, so not only are you, and we'll get back to the show to wrap things up, but you're also you work for Northeast Eagle. Mm-hmm. That's why, again, I have for those of you just listening, I have some Bud Light seltzers. That's why I said this Bud's for you to Brent. What's it like working in the beer industry?
It's an interesting field. It's fun. It's demanding sometimes, but ultimately it's a cool job. You get some like perks out of it. You get to build these relationships with a lot of these people. I mean, I've been playing around the area for so long that a lot of these people that I take, because I have the Wilkes-Barre route, so I take care of all the downtown bars.
Oh, sweet.
Brews Brothers down in Pittston, Sabatini's is mine. I take care of Three Guys in Kingston, the one up in Mountaintop, so on and so forth. But so a lot of these people I already had a relationship with. A lot of these people I've built a relationship with. Like I become really close with the guy who owns Marty's Blue Room. Mm-hmm. His name's Jim, and he's a great guy. And never in my life would I ever think I'd be saying that sentence, but like he's actually become like a friend of mine. He's 65 years old, but like he and I are friends, and we get along and we joke around and we bust each other's chops. And that's one of many relationships that I've forged through the job with some of these people, where it's just like, wow, this is pretty cool that you get to know some of these people. And then, like I said, there's some little perks that you get. You might get a drink faster here and there,
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. But
the appetizer.
Yeah. But it's cool. It's like I never thought it would be so, but it's almost like music, where like people listen to your stuff. Like when I see people drinking our beer, or like a beer that I sold to a bar or something, I get like a kick out of it. It's kind of like, oh, that's cool, man. He's drinking my beer. Like, look at that. It's not my beer, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, it's a cool job. And I work for Anheuser-Busch. I mean, it's a good flag to plant into the ground.
Yeah.
It's like one of the biggest companies in the world, and Bud Light's one of the biggest brands in the world. And, we get cool clothes that we can get, and merchandise stuff, and so it's fun. It's definitely fun.
I think the last time that I saw you in person, again, we didn't say a word to each other.
Right.
And I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but we were at I was at the radio station. It was probably 2019, I want to say. I was at the R Bar and Grill. Kieran Inglis was there. He was working for LT Verastro.
Yeah, right.
And you were in the corner. You were waiting for the owner or whatever. And Kieran had shouted over to you because you guys are obviously friends. And
yeah,
I was there. And like, again, I was like, I know who you are and I know you know who I am. But like, we didn't say a word. I just go on one of those like nods or whatever. And
yeah,
that was it.
right. Yeah, waiting for my turn with the sales call. Yeah, I used to bump into Kieran all the time on the route.
Yeah.
Because he took care of, I take care of Wegmans in Wilkes-Barre, and that was one of his accounts. And then obviously our bar.
Yeah.
I would see him down there. We would do the sales call with Lauren on Friday mornings. That was like the only time she was around. So we'd go see her on Fridays, and I'd bump into him. But he's a good dude. He just bought the White House recently.
Yeah, how about that? So like, he had messaged me saying, hey, I'm leaving for Astro. And he didn't allude to any kind of like news. He just said he was, just time was done and
right.
Time for something else. And so that's cool, man. Like he was talking about his wife, I think, owns a salon, and he was talking about helping out with that and doing marketing, yada, 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 and possibly getting t-shirts made because I work at Axelrad now and all that kind of fun stuff. And then I was actually at a Blue October show at the Sherman Theater, and I remember being on my phone and people started sharing and I heard that the White House was being sold, and I saw people sharing it that like it was Kieran and his wife, and I'm like, the fuck is going on here? Like, why? I'm like, do you cook, bro? Like, I don't even know. Like, what is happening? My text to him was, I said, 1, congratulations. 2, I have so many questions. That was my text to him. I'm like, I don't.
Well, it's funny because I was at I went to the Derek Truck show at the Kirby Center back in, I think it was August. A buddy of mine had an extra ticket because his wife couldn't go. So we went to the show, and I ended up getting pretty tuned up, actually. Again, one of the perks of working for Northeast Eagle.
Don't get high on your own supply, bro. That's the rule.
One of the guys that bartends at the Kirby is Tony Castorella, and he's a longtime employee at Northeast Eagle. He has he has a route down south, but so he was tossing us a couple Bud Light aluminums,
sure,
on the under, and so by the time I got to Franklin's, I was feeling pretty good, and I hadn't eaten all night. So I got some food, and I remember Kieran coming over and talking to me and my buddy. And I was so like focused on the food because I was starving. I had a nice buzz going. Then like he was there, but I wasn't really like turning around to listen to him. I was just kind of like, yeah, I hear it. And I overheard him saying it to my buddy that he was buying it. And then like a couple days went by, and I think I ran into him somewhere, or I forget what happened. I was like, are you buying the White House? Did I hear that right? Like it was one of those things where it was like the recall like came back like 3 days later, and I was like, wait, I remember hearing you say that you were buying the White House diner. And he explained it. I guess his wife, they share the parking lot, so like her
okay.
like borders the parking lot of the White House. So I guess it just made sense because it helps her business to have like more parking.
Sure.
Because I don't know if you're familiar with that area.
I know where the White House is. I didn't know where his wife's salon was. Like again, my text to him was congrats, and two, I have so many questions. Like I need to know more. And we that was back in October.
Yeah,
we haven't talked more than he disrespected me. I'll put this on record. He wanted to get some hats done. In specific style hats. I sent him a link to the style hats that he wanted. Right. Same exact thing, but because it came from a different website, or it was maybe or labeled a different thing because it came from a supplier that I worked with. Right. He's like, I don't trust you. Like he didn't say those words, but he's like, no, I if I'm going to spend some money, I want to make sure it's the right stuff. I'm like, oh, excuse me. You're right. I'm not good at my job. I don't know what I'm talking about. Whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. And then like 2 weeks later, he's like, oh yeah, those were the same hats. And
yeah,
that's what I told you.
Told you, man.
But I'm not good at my job, so you don't want to listen to me. He's like,
right.
He goes, shh. That's what he wrote back. He goes, shh. I haven't talked to him since. I should probably text him and see how he's doing. But
text him and tell him to check out the podcast.
I will.
Find out about all this right here.
We talked shit on you all night. Me and Adam talked shit on you all night.
Check out the podcast, man.
He will. That'll be my best listen. He'll listen 100% the whole thing to hear his name and we talk shit on him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, again, I don't know how we've never had the pleasure of speaking to each other at length. So thank you for doing this. I had a lot of fun. But tell people again what's going on December 25th at the River Street Jazz Cafe.
So December 25th at the River Street Jazz Cafe, SUZE Christmas 12, we will be paying tribute to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, covering Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which is their critically acclaimed album from 1991. So this is the 30th anniversary. Features tunes such as Under the Bridge, Give It Away, Suck My Kiss, Righteous and the Wicked, Sir Psycho Sexy, on and on and on. There's an event on Facebook for it. You could search SUZE Christmas 12, and we use the Roman numeral 12, so X and 2 I's. And then in that event, there's a link where you can donate to Carve for Cancer. So we're going to have the link set up in the event for the duration that the event is on Facebook until the actual day of the show. And then at the show, we're going to have a QR code set up if you have cash, you could donate cash too. We'll have an area to do that, but we're going to set up a QR code near the door and then maybe near the stage. If people feel so inclined to donate and they don't have any cash on them, they could just hit the QR code. And however the technology works, I didn't get that far into it. I just know that the QR code is linked to the link with the donation for Carve for Cancer, and it'll be on our behalf. So we'll be donating it as SUZE, but we'd love for people to donate. We raised $1,300 in 24 hours last year on our live stream for it. So we're hoping to top that number, hopefully.
And people can donate, they don't have to come to the show. They can donate via that link.
Yeah.
Page.
You can't make it to the show and you want to give some money. I'll post it on my Facebook and stuff like that throughout the next couple weeks. And if you search the event, it's again SUZE Christmas 12, the Roman numeral 12. It should come up, and in that event, the link is in there. So, or you can go directly to Carve for Cancer, and you can donate that way too. It doesn't have to necessarily be through our link, but
Cool. I'll do my best to share that event on my the Popko Project page as well. So,
appreciate it,
dude. I feel like we missed out on a lot of years together.
Definitely, we should have a great time.
We should. We definitely should. I feel like I said. I feel like we missed out on a lot of years together. I feel like we were there, but we weren't.
Yeah, there's a lot more left, man. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh yeah, me neither. So, but yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, you too, man.
You know, I've heard great things about SUZE, and obviously, you continue every year to do at least one show and not only provide a good time to the audience, but also help raise some money for a great cause. So, thank you for doing what you do. I do feel like I missed out on SUZE over the past years, but we'll make up for that.
Well, that's all right. I'll be posting the show from last year in the next coming days just to revisit.
Oh, sweet.
And then we are filming this year, so
oh, cool.
I will send that over to you when we get it finished and edited.
That's awesome.
When it comes and you can check it out.
Cool. Well, Adam,
hopefully I won't curse too much in the video. I mean, this album is perverted. That's another thing you discover. When you read some of these lyrics, you're like, oh, baby, I don't know if I want my mom to do this yet.
She's heard it before.
Yeah, she absolutely has. Probably from me. So,
well, dude, thanks again for doing this. I appreciate your time. And
I appreciate you having me. Thank you, brother.
Thanks for doing what you do. And
thanks for doing what you do, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
A platform to talk about their stuff and brag about themselves. It's cool. So,
dude, it's an honor for me. I always say that this is a selfish thing on my part because, you know, I don't know if you know this or you know, I used to have a radio show, and when that got put on hiatus, I felt lost, and I felt like I needed the scene and people like you more than you needed me. So like, how can I weasel my way into their lives again? And so I'm like, well, let's just keep doing what I was doing and just this way, and hopefully people enjoy it, and hopefully people find value in it and entertainment and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for the kind words. I hope that I can provide that, and we'll do good things together.
Yeah, and it's fun to talk, you know.
Yeah, always
fun to talk. So, and you got my number, so if you're ever bored, you can call me and we'll talk.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll talk. We'll go out for a beer.
That's right, man.
Hopefully, you know, the Bud Light seltzer nog isn't bad. I forget what I had. I don't know if it was the cherry cordial or if it was the other one. I forget. I'm not a big seltzer guy. Like
we got the hard colas coming out this year. That's the big one coming out.
You heard it here first. Hard colas.
So.
Can you like the Jolt? Can you add some booze to the Jolt? Remember Jolt?
Yeah. So it's like black cherry, orange, lime, and like regular cola flavor. So
yeah. And
then they're coming out with a sour one too. I don't know how that one's.
Yeah.
A lot of cool things coming from Anheuser-Busch in 2020.
All right. You heard it here first.
And maybe from SUZE. Who knows?
Okay. All right. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
I think 2022 is going to be the year.
It's the year.
The ultimate rebound.
That's right, man.
It's like the year. It's like, you know, 2020 and 2021 was that girl that you dated, wasted 2 years of your life on, and you're going to rebound.
Yeah. Well, and we're doing something similar at Carve for Cancer this year, too. Carve for Cancer is coming back at Montage on February 5th. So we're actually headlining the show, and we're going to do a version of this Chili Pepper set. So
sweet.
So if you want to come out to that, that's an early night. You could bring the little guy.
Okay. I like that idea.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I'm you know, as you know, you got kids. It's like you try and do things with the family.
Sure. My daughter comes every year.
Sweet. Well, hopefully, you know, that'd be a nice day out.
I'll shoot you a reminder when it's coming up.
Please do. Yeah, because
sure.
We're always looking for things to do.
Jump is booking the music this year. They have to start looking for it. So
it's funny you mentioned AJ, or I'm sorry, you mentioned AJ just now, but before you're like, oh yeah, we can't all be like these music savants or whatever. I was gonna say like, yeah, we can't all be fucking AJ Jump, you know, Berkeley educated and all that kind of shit.
Well, he would hear this, but he's probably playing with another band right now. So
yeah, the fucking 10 bands that he's in, or he'd hear this, or he can't because he can't hear at all.
Right. One or the other.
All right, dude. Thanks again. And I always say, hopefully, I'll see you sooner than later.
Absolutely. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, dude. All right, see ya.
See ya.